Hi folks, Lou here, and today we're going to talk about electric vehicles and the odd dislike or even hatred that seems to be common and which just isn't sensible. There's lots of negative vibes, and I don't think this is just because many electric vehicles come from foreign countries. I think this is a focus on long distance travel and the shortage kind of range of many EVs, electric vehicles, and the supposed difficulty of finding charging stations on a long trip. And I'll confess, I wouldn't take a purely electric vehicle on very long trips. But there are many virtues to electric vehicles. If you need to go a long distance, there are electric vehicles that also use gas, so you won't have a problem even if you can't find a charging station. Now, electric vehicles rarely go more than 250 miles on a full charge, and they tend to cost more if they can go farther. So the question is, where are you driving the car? If it's mostly local, there's no problem. If it's mostly long distance, then there's a problem with most fully electric vehicles. Though as time passes, battery capacity improves, and there are more charging stations to use. So let's think about fueling up a car. My wife is security conscious. For her, it's much better to plug the EV in overnight in our garage than to visit gas stations, and much less time consuming. It's much safer. Newer electric vehicles can charge from ordinary electrical sockets, 110 volts. It just takes 11 plus hours. So you do it overnight. Or you can pay a lot for a special 220 volt outlet so that you can charge in 2 hours. And by a lot, I mean around $1,000. Houses can handle it. It's not a problem. Some appliances use 240 volts. So, what's the cost of operation? The electricity needed for 100 miles is much cheaper than gasoline. For example, our Nissan Leaf, which is an older model that has been replaced now, although ours is a 23, gets 4.8 miles per kilowatt hour around town. It has a 40 kilowatt hour capacity. So we get something like 192 miles per full charge, even though the claimed range is only 149 miles. Why the difference? Well, speed, I believe, is the difference. When you're driving around town, even if you drive 20 miles away and back, which my wife does a lot, you're still not probably driving at 70 miles an hour. It's more like 45 or 55 miles an hour, or even much slower. Well, electric vehicles don't have a conventional transmission. It's just an electric motor, and you go forward, you go back, that's it. There's no oil changes either because it's simpler machinery. There's no motor oil because there's no motor. So even when gas is cheap, which it is at $3 per gallon nowadays, electricity is much cheaper per mile, about 1/3 as much. You're also saving time because you're charging locally and not using gas stations. So if time is money, you're making more money. Now, some people say that the environmental costs involved in making an EV counteract the advantages of avoiding gasoline use. I don't know. There's a lot of disagreement, and I'm not sure anybody really knows. Depends on how you measure it. But if you start from the point of retail purchase, an EV is much better for the environment. It doesn't stink. It doesn't pollute. It's much less of a fire hazard because there's no gasoline. Now, if you need long distances, there's a plug-in hybrid, PHEV, and that's different from the typical hybrid that's been around a while that I'll talk about later. It has a smaller battery that takes you a short distance for driving around town. For example, my very large Pacifica minivan can go 32 miles on a charge. Well, that's fine for driving around town. Sometimes we can take 2 trips with it and it's battery all the way. But the gas motor charges the battery some, so when the gas motor kicks in, I still get a mileage of over 31 miles per gallon, even for such a large car. So that's perfect for long distances, and I don't charge it away from home. Now there's also the older style hybrid, which is in between the two that I've talked about. It gets really good mileage on gas because the gas engine also charges the electric. So more than 40 miles per gallon in some cases. As far as I know, that kind of hybrid doesn't get plugged in. What about speed? Electric vehicles have no trouble with legal or common speeds, but I doubt they're as fast at the top end as some gas guzzlers. I don't know. I'm a defensive driver and typically slower than average, and always have been, young man or old man. If you need something that can go more than 100 miles per hour, an EV might not be for you. When I bought my EVs, just as the pandemic wound down, they were in great demand, so I had to pay more. But I had no choice. My main car got totaled in an accident, and the other two were 25 and 28 years old, and they were wearing out. Now, at that time, and maybe still, there's a large $7,500 one-year tax credit on American origin EVs, and the Chrysler counted as an American origin, even though it was partly built in Windsor, Ontario. Electric vehicles cost more than gasoline cars, but cost less to operate. Will they last as long? Well, typically there's a 10-year warranty on the batteries, and the batteries are really expensive. Now, how long they last in practice, I don't know, but presumably more than 10 years. And of course, it depends on how much you drive it. We are not getting big gas mileages on ours, so I expect them to last at least 10 years. As you can tell from the 25 and 28-year-old cars, I tend to keep cars a long time, but at my age, 25 years is a big stretch. Now, Chinese electric vehicles are quite cheap, barring tariffs. There's a price war in China that the Chinese government is trying to crack down on. There are also big subsidies by the Chinese government. On the other hand, some of these vehicles are prone to battery fires, nor will they be eligible for the tax credit in the USA, and as I write, there are big tariffs. So, as long as you don't do long distance driving, a pure electric vehicle is fine. You'll need a plug-in hybrid for long distance. Thanks for listening.